What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. We have a few clips we're gonna go over here, so let's just go ahead and get into it.
Months ago, I went on a second date with a guy who was a few years older than me. He was like 29. And we had gone on our first date to like a brewery. We just grabbed drinks. It was like mellow. We just got to know each other. Typical first date. Second date, he was like, oh, I want to take you somewhere nice. Like, I'm going to get us reservations for this restaurant in town. Have you ever been there? I hadn't. So he was like, okay, yeah, like, I think you should try this restaurant with me. Makes the reservation. Reservation is at like 7:30. So we go and meet up at a bar across the street at like, we were supposed to meet up at 6:45. I was running a little bit late, but had kind of told him like I'm having a chaotic day. Like I will try to be there by 7.
Did you ever notice that when a woman wants to push a date back and be late, it's totally fine, but when a man does it, it's a huge red flag? These types of women will make all the excuses for the men they are completely attracted to and find any and all reasons to deny interactions with normal, average men. Completely delusional.
And so meet up at 7 across the street, grab a drink, go across the street to the restaurant for our reservation. We sit down, order drinks there, and then, we're chatting, we talk about the menu, he tells me what he recommends off the menu, and then our waitress comes and she's like, hey, are you guys ready to order? Like, do you know what you want? And he was like, no, I think we need like 5 more minutes. And so she walks away. I was like, okay, maybe I didn't make it like clear, like, oh, I think I'm going to get this. So I said it like, oh yeah, like the thing you recommended sounds good, like I think I'm going to do that. We're sitting there, we're chatting, waitress comes by again. Hey, do you guys know what you want? He says, no, I think we need like 5 more minutes. I was like, well, maybe he just doesn't want to interrupt like our conversation. We're having like a good conversation. So maybe he just wants to like continue the momentum of the conversation. She comes back again. He proceeds to tell her we need 5 more minutes for 2 hours. 2 hours. We're sitting there having a conversation, and I'm a great conversationalist. So, like, we just keep it going. It doesn't get, like, awkward. The conversation doesn't slow down.
So let me get this straight. You had this very detailed, long 2-hour conversation with this random man you met on the internet, but you didn't take 3 seconds to tell him to place an order for some food. What happened to strong and independent? Why didn't you interject at the very least to let the waitress know you were ready to eat? Is it because you wanted the man to pay for the food? Let's keep watching and find out.
But at some point I'm like, when are we gonna like order, So he goes to the bathroom, the waitress comes to me. I'm sure I've been like blinking in Morse code, help me, I'm starving to death. Because when we were at the first bar, before we went across the street, he asked me if I was hungry, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like I had such a chaotic day, I'm so excited to just like chill out and eat. So he knew I was hungry. The waitress comes by while he's in the restroom, and she's like, do you know what you want? I was like, yeah, I think when he gets back from the bathroom, we'll be ready to eat, like ready to order. Because I didn't want to order, if he was going to pay, I didn't want to order while he was in the bathroom. I thought that would be rude. So he comes back, we're chatting, the waitress comes back and she asks if we're ready to order, and he says we need 5 more minutes. Finally, the waitress comes back and she's like, we are closing the kitchen. Did you guys want to order some food? He turns to me and he's like, are you even like hungry?
This whole situation is a clear sign that this man not only has more options, but he is absolutely done wasting his time with this woman. These types are clueless as to why men will not want anything to do with them aside from nighttime visits. He saw the trauma and how you handle certain situations, and he's already checked out.
I was like, yeah, I'm pretty hungry. Like, I'm sitting here in my brain like, what the fuck are you talking about? Am I hungry? Like, I told you 3 hours ago I was hungry. So we order an entree to share, and it was really good. The food was great. It comes out, he goes and takes a bite and immediately burns the roof of his mouth on the food. So he's sitting there pouting while I'm kind of like still picking at the food, like blowing on it to cool it down because I'm starving. And he goes, oh, like I can't even taste anything because I burned my mouth. You can eat the whole thing if you want. Like I don't care if you eat the whole thing. So I did. I ate the whole thing because I was like, you kept me waiting here. It's now been 2.5 hours since our reservation. It's 10 p.m. They are closing the kitchen.
Takes. Pay close attention how everything that has happened negative on Thomas' date is all the man's fault. Now he's gonna bring a weird energy and bad vibe, and she will still not put the pieces together that just because he's 6 feet tall, six-pack abs, and works in finance doesn't mean he is worthy of dating.
By the end of the date, the tone was just kind of nasty because we had started talking about tattoos. I have tattoos on my arms, and he had tattoos on like his chest, arms, like legs, all of it. And he was asking me, because I had a tattoo appointment coming up, he was like, how much do you spend on your tattoos? And I was like, I typically don't really discuss that kind of thing with people because I feel like tattoo pricing ranges so much depending on style and your artist and where it's placed on the body. But I told him, I was like, typically it's in this like ballpark range because I have like bigger pieces. And he started scoffing at me. Like, I've never spent that much on a tattoo before. I've never spent over $200 on a tattoo. And I was like, well, my artist has 2 kids, and I feel like I'm supporting her family by continuing to go to her and provide her my business. And he was just like talking down at me basically for how much I've spent on my tattoos and insinuating that I'm getting scammed by my artist who I have a great relationship with. So I also felt like the fact that he was being weird about ordering food for both of us, I almost want to say it was like a money thing where it was like he couldn't afford the restaurant that he picked to take me to and was hoping that we would just get drinks and leave. But it's like I never asked him to take me to like this nice restaurant. This was something he said he wanted to do. And so to be upset with me that I do spend money on myself and my appearance and things that make me happy, because you're upset that you're the one paying for a nice dinner you asked to take me to, I was just confused. And then usually when I'm on like a first, second, or even like sometimes a third date, I will plan something for after the date so that I have an excuse to leave if I feel like things aren't going well. So I was like, oh yeah, I did tell my friend I was gonna go help her like put together her bed frame tonight. And it's getting late. It was like 10:30 at this point. I was like, I really need to like go help her out because otherwise she doesn't have a bed frame put together to sleep on tonight. And I was offering to like stay with him and wait for the check and like hang out. And he was like, no, you can go. Just go. I was like, okay, well, have a good night. Like, I was just so confused. I was like, I don't know what I did to warrant being spoken to this way. I thought the date was going pretty well until the tattoo conversation came up. So the fact that it spiraled out of control from there was just very confusing to me.
/ even men who have plenty of tattoos do not find them attractive for women they are trying to make their lifelong relationship or wife. Tattoos signify unpleasantness and being difficult in certain cases. Men have seen these as red flags, similar to the bull nose piercing. Men see these modifications and will mostly choose a more natural and friendly face. He wanted to get to know you in a lot of different ways. However, having conversations with you for hours on end probably wasn't the type of interactions he was hoping for. These women go after the most attractive guys they can find, and then are dumbfounded when they choose better options.
I started talking to this guy literally today. We matched on Tinder today, and he was messaging me and like was pretty adamant. Like I didn't answer him at first, and then like he messaged me again. So I was like, whatever, like I'll give him a chance. Like, sure. So he's messaging me and basically is like, oh, like add me on Snapchat. I deleted my Snapchat and my Instagram. Long story, but I basically was like, oh, I don't have Snapchat, like you can text me. So I gave him my number and he starts texting me, and basically off the bat he's like, I really want to see you, like what are you doing later, like let's go to the movies, let's go on a date. And like he seemed so nice, he was so cute. On his Tinder bio it said he was in finance, he's 6 feet, he had a bunch of pictures, he was like verified, so real person. Like I was like, okay, like
He was 6 feet. he was verified. Because we all know those are the minimum standards women place to find high-quality men. I have a feeling he isn't such a good guy.
Sure, let's go on a date. And he sent me like this movie and everything, and basically I was like, yeah, like I'm down, like let's do it. And he was like, awesome, like bought the tickets, like I'll see you tonight, blah blah blah. And then we're planning out like when we wanted to meet, if we wanted to meet like prior, all this stuff. We talked like all day basically. And so it finally came to like before we were going, and he tells me that his car is in the shop and he has to Uber, and it would be really nice if I wanted to pick him up. Instant fucking red flag. I should have just ran then. Don't know why I didn't. I was already in deep enough. I was just like, yeah, no, like we should just meet there, like just Uber. So he's like fine with that, whatever. So he Ubers there, I'm driving, and he gets there like a few minutes before me. So I call him when I pull in. I'm like, hey, I just got here. We got there like an hour early because we wanted to meet up and like talk and stuff before. I wanted to like get to know him, because when you're at a movie, you can't talk and get to know the person.
Saw the red flags, ignored all the bad vibes, are justified. Chad was bored, and for some reason, which will never make sense to me, he decides to share the same space with an individual like this. This would be a literal nightmare for me.
I'm so stupid for all of this. In hindsight, like I see this now. Anyway, I call him. I'm like, oh, like, do you want to like come in my car and like we can like hang out in here and like talk before the movie or whatever? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like I'll come out, just park wherever. Thank God I park literally right front and center, like under the lights. There's people outside. There's people in their cars. Like, so I'm parked right front and center. He gets in my car, and like all is like fine. And we're talking, whatever. And I basically like had to tell him. So before I left my house, I realized I had a cold sore on my lip, whatever. Like a lot of people get them. I've gotten them ever since I was a little kid. I don't know. But I know they're contagious, and I know it's basically herpes or whatever. So I had to tell him. And it was like the worst thing to have to tell someone on a first date. And I was so nervous. I was so scared. And I'm like, if you want to leave now, like if you're all set, like I get it. Like, don't worry. I was like, I swear I don't have any other diseases. Like, this is it. I have a cold sore, and I have to tell you, because like, yeah, like if we kiss, you know, like obviously we can't. And he's like laughing. He's like, you're so cute. He's like, no, like, I don't care. I actually just got over one myself. Like, it's fine. Like, I want to kiss you. And I was like, oh, like, okay. I was like, your choice, you know? And he's like, can I kiss you? And I was like, sure. Mind you, we literally were only talking for like 5 minutes, not even.
It's okay, so let me get this straight. She just met this man, not but 5 minutes of him getting into her car, and she is already doing this type of stuff with him. This isn't correct behavior, and just further pushes the narrative that Tinder is only for nighttime visits.
Anyway, he starts kissing me, keeps kissing me, and like grabs my leg, and I'm like, oh god, like okay, this is not what I imagined. So I kind of pull away. I started a different conversation. We start talking. He's just acting like really weird. Like he was like kind of annoyed that I like pulled out of the kiss. And so I asked him like, oh, like what happened to your car? Like why is it in the shop? And he starts being so weird and like moving around. He's like, yeah, like actually it's really embarrassing. I lost my license on the 4th of July. I got a DUI, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, like in my head, I'm like, okay, this guy already lied to me about something like this. Like this is just that I already have awful vibes about this. Anyways, we got over that, and he just keeps like wanting to make out and like kiss, and I'm like I just feel like I have to, like it was a really awkward situation. And then he starts grabbing my hand and putting it, I'm sure you can guess where, and I basically had to pull away and like tell him like I just want to like get this out of the way now. I'm not trying to do all that, you know, like no. And his whole demeanor changed. He completely changes, and he's basically tells me like that's all he wanted, like that's why he came tonight, that's why he did all this, because he was expecting that. And I like had to tell him no, like sorry. And before this too, he was telling me that I should move parking spots or whatever, and I wouldn't. And even after me telling him that I'm not doing all that, he still kept trying to get me to move my car to like the back of the theater where it's like completely dark, and he's just acting really off and really weird.
Women will put themselves in these situations with these random men they meet online, but never think about maybe not doing this kind of stuff. Women should not be meeting random men in their cars late at night in abandoned parking lots. I didn't know that needed to be said, but here we are.
And instantly I'm just getting like awful vibes. Like I'm just like, and then he starts like gaslighting me, telling me that I let him on. Huh? Like, I'm so sorry for agreeing to go to the movies with you and I wouldn't pick you up. Like, I didn't even argue with him because I'm like, if I get this man angry, like, who knows what's gonna happen? I mean, thank God I'm right in front of the theater under the lights and like there's people around, so. But he was like making jokes too, because like I had a nice car. He's like, because I kept saying like, oh, like, I hope you don't kill me, like I hope you're not a murderer. And he's like, yeah, I could like literally kill you right now and like take your car, like you have a nice car, blah blah. And like, I don't know, maybe it was just jokes, like, because I was joking about it, but it felt really off to me. And you could tell he was like really pissed off that and he kept trying to get me to like want to do stuff with him. And like, he was like, oh, like maybe we can still go see the movie. Mind you, I did check before I went and we would have been the only 2 people in that movie. Like, I had awful vibes. I was like, no. Like, I don't want to waste your time. Like, your time's valuable. And he's like sulking. He's like, my time's not valuable. Like, I'm like, okay, you clearly are a psychopath and you clearly have no self-esteem and you probably will. Like, I'm like.
This is the type of actions any and all women will champion for single women, telling them to not settle, get what they're worth, and to find a provider. Looks like the only thing this man is going to provide is a dangerous situation.
I don't even know if I can post this because I can't say all this stuff. Whatever, I'm posting it. But yeah, so basically I started crying and was just trying to make him feel as bad as possible because I'm like, I don't want this guy to kill me right now. Like he was being really weird. Like there's so much I could explain, but I had so many red flags. Thank God I had my like smarts about me and whatever. Like this could have ended so much worse. He basically was like, oh, like, will you at least wait for me, like, my Uber to get here? And I was like, yeah, like, sure. Like, I'm not gonna, like, put you up anymore. Like, his Uber got there and, like, whatever, he's gone. I'm low-key kind of scared. I'm like, is there a tracker in my car? Is there something? Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna pray all is fine. I'm okay. But if I wake up dead tomorrow, y'all know what happened. But I shouldn't even joke like that. But anyway, I'm never going on another date again. And that's just that. Sorry, he ruined it for everyone. Okay. Good night. Bye. I'm happy to be alive.
These situations, like I've said in my other videos, will only be getting more questionable, as these men are now becoming displeased by women putting them in these situations and making advances on them only to shut them down later on and act surprised they want what was promised in text messages. These women need to stop putting themselves in these bad situations and needs to protect themselves. Let me know what you guys think. I had to use my AI voice today, seeing as how I lost my voice somehow. Leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, and like the video. I'll check you guys later. Rat Boy out.